the life of a fisherman you wouldn't understand, something you can't feel on dry land. You gotta get your arms way up in a cage and set the hook on smallmouth bass, and then you'll understand. You gotta get your hands on a Shimano reel and a Jackal that's right. I bet you like what you feel. Step on the deck and give it a whirl. Hello and welcome to my world. Well, it's lunchtime and we're waiting in line. We drew boat number 5, that ain't too bad. We're doing 70 miles per hour down the lake. We're driving like we're an hour late. Just hold on tight, buddy, keep it straight. Well, we get to the spot and we shut her down. We fire up a hummingbird to see what's around. Scanning instructions, start to break it down. That's a life of a fisherman you wouldn't understand, something you can't feel on dry land. You gotta get your arms way up in the cage and set the hook on a largemouth bass, and then you'll understand. You gotta get your hands on a Shimano reel and a Jackal that's right. I bet you like what you feel. Step on the deck, give it a whirl. Hello and welcome to my world.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of On Another Line. Sorry, I'm about 3 minutes late. I actually am working on trying to get a garage built here at my house, and that was the fellow that I'm getting one of the quotes from. I was on the phone. Actually, you didn't see that, but I was on the phone with him, and it was just kind of the way it worked out that he called right when I was going live. So, priorities. Like I said, I got a bunch of stuff going on as far as what I have to do and what I need to do. First and foremost, Josh is not here tonight. He may or may not show up. He is actually running a recreational football league for the Rock Hill. I'm pretty sure he's running the thing, but he's definitely coaching a rec league football team. So a couple of things here. I'm going to be jumping back and forth between Facebook as well as YouTube. Obviously, it's tough for me to do both. So bear with me if you guys ask a question on Facebook or YouTube here. I appreciate it if you guys would, again, bear with me. Of course, my background likes to disappear every time, so let's get that fixed really quickly. But anyway, so I hope you guys have been catching them. Steven and I went out last week and actually caught a bunch of fish. You guys know if you're from this area, you know how there we go, background's back. So you know how it could be. Steven Chase says I'm here even though it feels like I'm dying. But Steven and I went out fishing at Grayson Lake. We took him I took him out there fishing. And we actually caught a ton of fish, guys. Grayson Lake right now is on fire with little fish. If you got kids or people that just want to catch fish, Grayson Lake right now is on fire. We caught 40 plus. I think we caught 39 fish, I think is what I went through my GoPro stuff. I'm going to show you guys some footage of that here in just a second. I'm going to show you. There's not going to be any sound. I'm just going to show you and talk to you about what we're using. I'm also going to talk to you guys about what I think about transitioning from summertime to fall time fishing. I'm going to show you some of my favorite baits. To do that, I'm going to show you guys some new Jackal lures that I've just come into contact with in the past couple of years that I absolutely love for the fall and into the summer into the fall transition. But first and foremost, let's do this. Let's go do the intro. Okay, I'll scratch the intro right now. Sorry. I'll get that going in just a second. We'll do it for an outro. For some reason, my hard drive that I have connected to the system, like it works fine, then craps out. Anyway, so hey buddy, what's up? There, I see you out there on YouTube. You said that you go to Coal Grove Middle School. That's awesome, man. Obviously, you probably know, but I teach there at the high school. Stop by and see me sometime. So, without further ado, we're going to talk about a little bit of things here. Larry Slack out there, I see you. Scott Bale, hey buddy, how you doing? We are going to talk about my favorite ways to catch bass going from summer to fall and into the fall transition into winter. Quick update on my truck. The truck is in the shop right now. And the thing about that is that I'm very hopeful that it will be done this week. Today makes day 9 that it's been in there. They've done a bunch of stuff to it. They put a new EGR cooler on there, EGR bypass valve, put a new diesel exhaust fluid tank, and as well as a few other things. So it's a huge undertaking of what they did. So shout out to those guys actually working on some stuff, trying to get that thing done as far as what we're doing. Get me out on the water. You guys haven't seen me out on the water much. If you guys are watching from YouTube, you see that I've posted a lot of stuff. I got a lot of stuff coming up next week. We're going to be posting some how-to videos. Hopefully I'll have my truck back this week so I can go out and hit the water, so it's going to be cool. Little Justin Moore shirt here. Steven hooked us up with. Mr. Mays out there. I see you, buddy. Thanks for joining. So I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about here. One of the things that we have been doing lately, and that is basically not talking about fishing much. We've been talking about what's going on in my life and all that stuff, and that's okay, but we're all about fishing. So I'm going to show you guys a video here, a little bit about a video here. So let me get this thing swapped over here to input 2 here real quick. So this is a clip of a video that I just put out on YouTube the other day. Hey, Caden, what's up, buddy? I see you out there. Thanks for joining. So this is a clip from the other day. This is actually a spring clip that I took Casey and Misty out. I borrowed my buddy Brooke Williams' truck. Casey's husband went fishing out to Grayson. Same deal. Ended up catching a pretty good fish. I took a hook to the head pretty much. Misty hooked my Hoorag. Shout out to Hoorag for saving my life there. So let's take a look here. So springtime here, obviously. This is a clip here, obviously, of Grayson Lake, a spot there that I really enjoy fishing. Pitched a 3/8 ounce black jig from the tackle box up there on that riprap wall. It's about 12 foot deep out from that wall all the way down. That's the reason I went there. I figured it would, pretty good pre-spawn staging area. And we were very unprepared. We didn't catch very many fish, and I was actually trying to lip the fish. Misty got in there and got in the net for me and, netted the fish for me. I don't know how much it weighs. I'm guessing 4.5, close to 5 pound. I had a scale that the batteries were dead. This is the first time I'd had my boat out all summer. So that's one of the things that kind of comes with it. But you can see here in just a second. So that's a fairly decent fish there. One of the biggest fish I caught all year. Pre-spawn fish, big female. So that's always good there. So that's one thing that I want to show you guys really quick as far as stuff. By the way, guys, if you guys haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, I would appreciate if you do that. That is youtube.com/onanotherline, just like you see here. And that's going to be that's where you're going to see most of my content. YouTube makes it really, really hard. Hey, Michael, what's going on, buddy? Jason waiting in the house. YouTube makes it really hard for me to, Facebook makes it really hard for me to reach people, and then I have to pay for that to happen. So that's one thing that we kind of are going away from. We're not going to go away. This live will still be here once a month, every second Tuesday of the month, unless it's a holiday, then we'll work around it. But Facebook makes it really hard to reach people. YouTube, not so much. I'm gaining some followers on there. I've gained almost 500 followers in the past 2 months. A lot of that's dealing with the SLX DC. Steven just picked up 2 of those things from the tackle box. Guys, the tackle box in South Point, Ohio is one of the only places in America right now that I think it has those things in stock. I'm sure he'll probably ship them for you. I don't know. I would say don't put the words in his mouth for mine, but I think he will ship them for you. Obviously, I think they're $189, and he has them in stock. But that's the reason a lot of the followers are coming on there. SLX DC video comparing the Corrado DC to SLX DC, and also the new Stratic FL. Which, by the way, you guys, if you haven't seen any of those videos, the Stratic FL actually has the same gearing, the Micro Module 2 gearing that the Shimano Stella reel has. And if you're not familiar with the Stella is a $699 reel, and you can pick that up for like $200 for the FL, which is really cool. So, without further ado, one of the things is that we were talking about, and we're going to try to do better with, is we're going to try to just do things that pertain to fishing, and we're not going to take up all of your time. With that being said, what we're going to talk about today is going to be my favorite ways to catch fall bass, or the transition period from summer into fall, which we're there, guys. I mean, football season starts in 2 weeks. Previews for us are this Friday. When football season starts kicking in for me, that's when I know I'm going to start switching baits up. One of the biggest baits that I throw in the fall of the year, and it should be in everybody's arsenal, is a willow leaf spinnerbait. This right here is from the Tackle Box in South Point, Ohio. These are absolutely my favorite spinnerbaits on the planet. You can get these in a bunch of different colors, bunch of different blade types, but I like the willow leaf blade for the fall. It mimics a herring or something like that. Here's another good option. Actually, Steven gave me this bait. I'm pretty sure this bait is made by Gray Goat Fishing Lures. Same deal, big willow leaf blade. This one actually has 2 willow leaf blades, where the other one has a Colorado and a willow leaf. But you want something that's going to mimic fish and bait fish that are in the area. RNZ Queasy says, quick question, where's your favorite place to fish? That's kind of a loaded question. If you're wanting to know around here, my favorite place to fish is probably Rocky Fork, but it's still an hour and a half away. Close to me is probably now has become Grayson. I like Yatesville a lot. If I were to go the top 3 lakes around here, I would go, within a couple hour drive would be Rocky Fork would be number 1, then Grayson, and then Yatesville. Yatesville gets pressured so much. But my absolute all-time favorite places to fish is St. Clair and Lake Erie. They're fish factories. You can go up there and catch them pretty much anywhere you want to go. But back to the spinnerbait deal, one of the things that you want to make sure that you're doing on a spinnerbait is 100% of the time you should be running a trailer hook like this. This is a 2-aught Gamakatsu, and it has some I guess it's a rubberized coating through the eye of the hook. So you just hook your main hook through there. And the reason I like that is that you can see that even with the spinnerbait, directly out, that hook stays out. So if you're like fluttering the spinnerbait, this hook is not going everywhere. So it's going to be straight out from your bait. A fish is going to catch it. A lot of times, guys, they're trying to get these blades. If you see the blade here, it actually extends way past the normal hook. If you were to take something like this ink pen, so that's even with the bottom of that lower hook. So you can see where there's that much more of that spinnerbait blade past that hook. So a lot of times they're going to come up and they're trying to get that blade. Well, they'll miss it. Well, that gives you that extra, opportunity to catch that fish. 100% of the time, I'm throwing a spinnerbait. I always have and this is a 2-aught. This one might be a little large for a lot of people. 1-aught works really good. I prefer a 2-aught. I mean, they're not seeing it. If they're worried about that, you're not going to catch them anyway. That's why I prefer a 2-aught. So again, willow leaf spinnerbait should be in your fall arsenal, without a shadow of a doubt. Is an awesome bait to throw. So on as far as what kind of baits that you go, hey Chris Marlowe, what's up, buddy? Christopher, Brian Skur, hey buddy. So next is going to be something that, in my opinion, you should have in your late summer fall arsenal. Is going to be 2 different baits I'm going to talk to you about. There's a lot of different baits here I'm going to talk about. The first one is going to be a lipless crankbait of some sort. My favorite lipless crankbait on the planet right now is this Jackal, and it's really tough to see. See if I can get it there for you, see if I can get the camera to focus on. But this is a Jackal TN70. So the difference here is, I'll show you. So this is a TN70 and a TN60. You can see there's not much difference in size. This is a 70. Here's a 60. The cool thing about these things is that the lip of these lipless crankbaits, and you're probably not, you can actually see the different collars there of it, but this has a tungsten insert in the front of this bait, which allows the bait to fall a lot faster It also allows you to rip it a lot quicker, and it stays in the same location in the water column instead of coming up at the boat. It's the way they've designed this lure is really good. This thing has a lot of rattles in it. It's not like a one knocker from like a regular rattle trap or whatever you can hear. And that's the smaller size, the TN60, and this is a TN70. You can hear that there's a ton of rattles in there. Same deal. Has the tungsten lip in it. I'm pretty sure, don't hold me to this, I'm pretty sure these are tungsten rattles in this bait. A lot of different colors. This one is actually crawfish. It's like a red crawfish pattern. I really like it. Here is a sexy shad style bait. I'm not real sure what color this is. It's just a shad colored bait. And this is a smaller version. That's a TN60. So here is a clear TN60. You can see the actual rattles in there. So if I counted them here, there is seven rattle or balls that rattle in the one chamber. There's another ball up here in the front, and then it still has the tungsten lip on it. And here is another one. If the water is really clear, you're going to be throwing something like this, something that's more subtle. Again, it's clear all the way through in the center. Water is dingy or dirty. This is a really good color. This is chartreuse purple back. Same deal, TN60. Got a lot of stuff. So a lipless crankbait is going to be something that you're going to have to go to in the fall, winter. Guys, the biggest thing about that is like, I feel like, that you can almost throw a lipless crankbait 100% of the time and catch fish. As Steven says there, he says the first fish he caught was with a sexy shad, lipless crankbait, and it was true. Caught a couple fish out there. I'll show you some footage of that in just a second. Matter of fact, let's pull it up and talk about it in just a second here. But one of the things that you have to understand about the lipless crankbait is that if you're fishing it in and around cover, you're going to get snagged up. I mean, that's just the way it goes. It's not a weedless bait or anything like that by any means. So definitely be careful throwing it around baits or around stuff like that. The next thing that I feel like that you're going to have to put in your late summer, fall arsenal, winter time. So this bait right here, my rule of thumb is when the water temperature hits 55 degrees, start throwing this bait until the water temperature warms up in the springtime, 55 degrees and more. And that is a jerk bait of some sort. This is a Jackal Re-Range 130. This is a bigger version. The 110 I really like as well. This is a shad or an IU collar. And it looks like it's clear. It is not. It's got a little green tint to it. My green screen software is picking it up, and that's why you're seeing all the way through that. But it is a shad collared pattern here. This is a 130 bait, guys. I don't have really tiny hands. You can see this thing is, it's as big as my hand. It's a fairly large bait. That's one of the things, especially into the fall and the wintertime. I'm going to up my baits because a lot of times fish want to have an opportunity to have a bigger meal. They don't want to expend as much energy to get these things. What's so cool about these Re-Range jerk baits by Jackal is there is it's called like a weight distribution system in here, and I'm going to hopefully you guys can hear it in just a second. There is a capsule of weight that actually moves in the chamber here, and when you throw it, that chamber of weight goes all the way to the back of the bait. So when you throw it, and it will scare the living daylights out of you the first time you throw it. It's going to sound like your rod's broken. It's going to sound like you got a guide missing. It's going to sound like that you snapped this thing off. It's just the nature of the beast. You're going to have to get used to it because it has that weight distribution channel in there, and the weight actually goes to the tail of it to allow you to throw this thing a lot farther. So let's see if I can get it to. So if you can hear it here, I don't know if you can or not. So it gets stuck when it hits the water, you can hear it. Hopefully you guys can hear it there. So you guys can hear it falling forward and hitting that. Hopefully you guys can hear that. But what happens is when you cast the lure, that weight goes to the end of this lure and gives it more force or sort of like a centrifugal force to throw the bait farther. When it hits the water, it's going to cause that stuff to move to the front, and it's going to allow you to, to fish the bait a lot better. and actually catch a lot of fish. The Re-Range 110, guys, if you're looking for a basic, jerk bait to get started with, check out the Jackal Re-Range 110. There's so many companies that make baits. I recommend Jackal because that's what I fish. Am I saying there aren't others? Guys, there's hundreds of them. The show's not here to talk to you about what you should buy, just tell you about what I do use. So let's switch over here and talk about, I think this is the very first fish that Steven caught there the other day. And this was on a lipless crankbait, just reeling it in slowly. Again, it's really early in the morning. It's about 7:15 in the morning there. It was like the third or fourth cast he made that morning, which was really cool. So I was throwing a 4-inch Jackal rhythm wave. Yeah, so you can see it there even so he's throwing a pretty decent sized crankbait there, or a slipless crankbait. So here, I'll move along here in just a second. So here's a fish that I caught throwing a rhythm wave, threw it over onto some grass, come off the grass, and was moving around the edge, and it got actually hammered. But you can see those fish are not super huge. We had fun. It was an awesome day. I actually set the hook on a fish and brought it up out of the water, which was funny as all get out. I'll see if I can find that here for you. So yeah, here we go. So let's swap this back over and I'll show you here. So there's a fish of Steven catching, comes off at the boat. So here's a fish that I ripped out of some lily pads. There's some grass, 65-pound Power Pro braid and a 12-inch fish. Don't go real well together, especially when you're doing that stuff. One thing that I want to talk about, and there's a lot of things that you're going to hear me talk about on this show about what products I believe and what I use. I just picked up 2 Shimano Poison Adrena rods. One of them is 7'3" medium heavy. The other one is a 7'1" or 7'2" heavy action. I haven't used the heavy action yet. I used literally that 7'3" medium heavy action on a Texas rig the other day, throwing this exact bait. It's a Jackal chunk crawl, and again, sorry, it's green. It's my green screen stuff is probably going to make it go away. But throwing a Texas rig with a green pumpkin tungsten 5/16 ounce Texas rig on there. Guys, they are the real deal. They're one of my favorite rods that I own right now. They have a carbon handle on the back of them instead of foam or cork. It is carbon. I didn't think I was going to like it. I think it was going to be really rough on my ribs when I set the hooks. Not that way. Uber light. So let's look at this. Guys, if you're commenting out there on YouTube land or Facebook land, give me a second. I can't see them at this point. But so I want you to check out the bend of this rod. And again, I'm setting the hook on like a 12-inch fish here. It's pretty deep. It's about 12 foot deep here. But you could see the power of this rod when I set the hook here on this fish. And again, this is a 7 foot 3-inch medium heavy Shimano Poison Adrena, which is actually a Shimano and Jackal Poison Adrena. So check this thing out. So you can see, the bend of it there. So let's look at that again. So you can see there, which is pretty crazy. That is a lot of bend for a 7'3" medium heavy rod, and it's phenomenally, very, very, very sensitive. Like I was telling Drew the other day that I'm putting it right up there with the G Loomis NRX. There's not much difference in prices, to be honest with you. So you think that they would be up there? They are. They're legit. Really, really cool rods. Definitely check those out. So here's another fish that Steven caught. And again, super clear conditions. It was, like I said, we're fishing a rock ledge here that's about 30 foot deep. He was actually throwing a speed crawl. Guys, I'm not going to lie to you, Steven put it all over me. So there was a shaky head. All right, so let's stop here for just a second. He was throwing a shaky head. It seems like anything we threw that was a speed crawl or these Jackal chunk crawls, anything crawl related, they were eating it. We didn't catch any giants. So I'm going to show you the next fish that we're going to catch here on this thing is going to be the biggest fish that we caught, and I want you to check out the aerial acrobatics of this fish. It's pretty daggone crazy. So let's switch back over and check this thing out. So again, back in a spot, back in the head of a creek here, a spot that I really like to fish. This rock wall is about 18 foot deep right off that. It comes right off that bank and just a sheer rock bluff. So at this point, I was throwing a Zoom speed crawl in green pumpkin purple with JB's fish sauce, garlic on it. You can see here. So pitch it up in there, which you can't see here. So first off, let me talk about this for just a second. I had told, Steven was absolutely crushing me. He was up probably 10, 15 fish at this point on me. He was catching way more than I was. And I just made the comment to him. I was like, I'm here for quality, not quantity. You can catch all you want. I'm going to catch a 5-pounder. And, I say that stuff all the time. It's just, I'm always looking for a 5-pounder, but it's one of those deals where they may or may not come. So I pitch this thing up in there. I get a bite, and I can just tell it's a bigger fish. I don't know how big it is. So I set the hook on it, and it ends up being about 3.5 pounds, close to 4. But being 12 to 15 foot deep, it felt like it was a monster. But you got to check out this little acrobat stunt it does here. Again, 7.3 medium heavy poison adrena paired with a Corrado I-Series. So check that out, man. I don't know that I've ever seen a largemouth jump that high out of the water for, to actually get away. I've never seen that. I've saw him jump, but I've never seen him jump quite that high. Again, ended up being about 3.5 pounds. All in all, amazing day fishing. I'll swip back over here so you can see the fish. But all in all, it ended up being about, we ended up catching about 30 fish, 38 fish, I think, 39 fish, this being the biggest, 3.5 pounder. You catch a 3.5 pounder at Grayson, it's not a bad day. Again, what we're using is some sort of crawl bait, shaky head he was throwing a rober worm on a shaky head. And that's one thing I'm going to talk to you guys about in a fall bait is definitely a shaky head, in my opinion. Again, green pumpkin, so you're not going to, I guess it's not doing too bad. So I'm going to show you really quickly how to rig a shaky head if you've never done that. I've seen a lot of people that I've talked to, and they're like, man, I hear you talking about this bait all the time, about a shaky head or whatever, but I don't know how to rig it. Can you show me? And sure, I'll do that now. I got a video coming out on YouTube, but this is a shaky head weight that I pour. I got some line there tied on it. This is one that I cut off a bait there not too long ago. But you can see here there is a screw lock on these, and I prefer these over any other head. There's a lot of different kind of stuff. Some of them are stand-up, meaning they have flat spots on the bottom of them. That's really good too. The reason I think that Steven was doing well on the robo worm the other day is because they float. The robo worms float, so you would have this, and it would actually keep the worm up off the bottom, and you would jig it along, and the worm would stay on top of it, which was really good. So this is just a Zoom finesse worm. Best thing you're going to do is you're going to take your worm and you're just going to thread it up on that screw lock, minding that you want to get that as evenly distributed on that screw lock as you can, meaning that you want that dead center of that worm. So you're going to screw it up. I screw it all the way up in to where it's touching the head. So you can see that. Hopefully you can see that. So it's screwed all the way up to the head of the worm, or of the thing. So here's one thing that I had trouble with when I was actually rigging these for the first time, is that you have to understand that if you just put this thing up through here, like just pushing it up through there, it's going to put a lot of tension on your worm. What you have to do is you have to kind of bend the worm up slightly, and then what I do is I push the hook all the way through the bait. So you can see that now, so it's kind of exposed. So you can see, let's bend this down a little bit so you can actually see it. So it's all the way through the worm. And then what I do is I take this and I put the point of the hook back into the bait. It's going to be really tough for you guys to see that, so I'm sorry. But you can see that. So what happens is there's no point sticking off. That makes it weedless. But it also makes it a lot easier for a fish to grab it. And then now you have the entire hook point, that's going to be exposed. Catch a fish. Most oftentimes, the only thing you have to do is insert that hook into that worm. Good to go. So that is a shaky head. So yes, so let's see. So Christopher said he could hear that in the thing, which is really good. So half ounce. That's what he was throwing. I was throwing a 5/16. Adam Gilmore joined us. What's up, buddy? Yeah, we were pegging the weight. And the reason I'll tell you guys the same thing I told Steven, because we were talking about, whether we should peg or not peg your weights. Here's my thoughts. First off, if you don't peg your weights, one of the things that I have and what pegging as far as uh, don't make the same mistake as I did and search how to peg a weight, because what you're going to see is not kid friendly. Trust me. But how to stop, use a bobber stop or something to stop these things. Why would you do it? Well, first and foremost, my biggest thing is that if this weight is on a piece of line and it's just free and it's free going up and down any way it wants to, the fish can actually use this as leverage when they're jumping to rip this hook out. So if you're using a half ounce, 3/4 ounce, 1 ounce punching weight, that's a lot of leverage for a fish to rip something out of its mouth. So the reason I peg this or keep this thing attached as close as I can to my bait is that reason, and that reason only, for one. But the second reason is that the way I figure it is, let's just say that this thing is not attached or not, use a bobber stop or whatever to put this on your bait here. Let's just say that you're dragging this thing over. Let's just use this pin as a fake log. So you're dragging this thing over, and then the first thing that comes over is your weight. Well, what happens is when you drop some slack on it, your weight is going to drop down the line. So now what that's going to do when that loop comes in your line, it's going to pull your bait down that thing, and it's also going to allow it to hook up on the log, and it's going to get you snagged a lot of times. With it being, bobber stop to your bait, it all has to fall at one single time, which makes a lot more realistic approach for me, and it also makes it a lot easier to not get snagged up. So those are the reasons that I do peg the weights on my baits. Any kind of Texas rig I'm throwing, 100% of the time has a bobber stop on there. One of the best things to do, guys, let me see if I can find these things for you here on Facebook. I'm sorry, I'm looking at Facebook. On Amazon. Amazon is the place to get them, and I'll try to pick them up here. I think you can just search for bobber stops. Sure enough, there they are. There is some. So you can see here. Here are the bobber stops, the exact bobber stops I use. You can see this center section right here. The one that's you can see that there's 10 of them sitting there. That's 1,200 bobber stops for $8.99. Prime, free shipping. If you have a Prime account, you can get those things August 15th. A lot of these are Prime. So that's 1,200 bobber stops, or 1,200 things that you can peg your weights with for $9. 1,200 is a lot. Like, that's enough to last you until they actually, dry rot, I would imagine. So that's what I use to peg my weights. So onward and upward, still talking about fall baits. And another fall bait that you can't rule out is some sort of crankbait. This is a new collar of a KVD, Strike King KVD 1.5, purple back, and then it goes into I think this is a river shad pattern. Don't quote me on that. I think this is one that Misty bought me for Christmas. But a KVD 1.5 crankbait works year-round for me, but especially in the fall. You get that shad spawn happening in the late summer, early fall, where you're going to be up in pocket and see that shad spawn happening. You cannot rule that bait out. Any kind of crankbait, 1.5, 2.0, 2.5 even, and if they're smaller, match the hatch, go down to a 1.0. Guys, I'm not going to lie to you. I love the idea of the KVD 1.5 deep, which is deep diving 1.5. I'm not sold. I've got like 5 of them, and I swear to you, they're the only crankbait that I've ever purchased from Strike King that do not run true. You have to tune them out of the box, and I hate that. Maybe I just got the first few that were made. I don't know what the deal was, but they're not. The idea is there. I'm just not buying into it right now. So that's a good deal. Again, shaky head, something you can't rule out. Texas rig, some kind of crawl bait that's going to be good for the fall. Here is another bait I'm going to show you guys. I'm also going to talk to you guys about some line that I just picked up the other day that you guys are going to be big fans of. I know, no doubt about it. Those of you guys that aren't bass fishermen per se, let's say you're a striper fisherman or you're a bass fisherman, you have a lot of schooling fish or stuff that's boiling. You have those boiling fish and you're trying to catch them, whether they be white bass, whether they be stripers, whether they're largemouth, smallmouth, whatever fish that you want to catch. If they're schooling, This bait right here has become my all-time favorite bait to throw when that happens. And this is a Jackal riser bait. This is a 009. This is a bigger version. This bait is extremely heavy. This thing weighs, I don't know, I'm going to guess 3/4 of an ounce. This thing has got some weight to it. It has a lip like a crankbait that's actually kind of bent down at the tip of it here. But what this bait is good for is you can make extremely long casts with this thing. I'm talking about bombing this baby. You throw this thing on braid and it is going to go a country mile. What you're going to do with this thing is just use a steady retrieve just like a crankbait. And what this thing is going to do is going to go walk like a walking dog motion on top of the water. But so your schooling fish, it also has a small prop here on the back of it, so it creates a little bit of disturbance. This thing is going to go back and forth like a walking dog bait or walk the dog bait like a spook or something, but it's going to be moving a lot faster, so you're going to be able to catch those fish that are schooling better. One, you can cast this thing an absolute mile. So you see that fish that's blowing up 70 yards away, you're going to be able to hit it with this thing. You throw a spook that far, probably not, unless it's one of the big spooks. But this thing right here, again, probably 3/4 of an ounce. I don't know for sure. I don't have the box here. It is extremely heavy for a bait, a topwater bait. You're just going to reel it, and it's going to go back and forth on the water. Caught a ton of fish on this bait already. Awesome bait for the fall. Definitely don't count that one out. So back to the line situation I was talking about there a second ago. I think I talked about it the last episode. We talked about it, but I didn't show you guys the actual I didn't show you the line because I didn't have it. It was actually back ordered, and I finally got it. So it's pretty cool. So you guys have heard me talk about Power Pro in the past. Power Pro is my very favorite braided line. This is Power Pro Super Slick or Super 8 Slick version 2. It's a lot thinner than a regular Super Slick. Super Slick, guys, if you want to think about this of what it feels like in real life, if you've never had an opportunity to use it, I want you to think about this as like dental floss. It feels like coated dental floss. It doesn't feel like braid at all. It's really smooth. You can take your finger down at fingernail, and you can't even hardly feel the braids in it. So the difference between this and a normal braided line is that Super Slick V2, actually Super 8 Slick, whether it be the original or the V2, is that this is an 8-carrier braid, meaning there's 8 filaments that are actually woven together or braided together to create this one strand of fiber, one fiber of this this piece of line. So the deal is with this is that this is 30-pound test, which has the diameter of 8-pound monofilament, which is pretty crazy. I use this on all my spinning rods. I don't own a spinning rod that doesn't have Super Slick V2 on it. Super Slick V2 with, my favorite all time used to be it was High Vis Yellow. I always tie some kind of leader on there. So it does make a big difference of how you're fishing or what you're doing there, or how you're rigging it. I rarely go straight braid to my line or to my lure unless I'm doing something like punching or pitching, something that's not really going to matter if they see their line or not. But the biggest things you see pros doing all the time is they're taking this green braid, whether it be Power Pro or some other braided line. They take a black Sharpie or a black magic marker, and they go up and down the first 4 or 5 foot of the line. So they're camouflaging this or making it black, making it harder to see under the water. Well, now Super Slick V2 comes in Onyx, which is a black line already. So you don't have to do that anymore. The cool thing about this, again, is super slick. It actually feels like, again, coated dental floss. That's what it's going to feel like to you. You can pick this stuff up at the tackle box. This stuff is a huge seller. It was actually best of show for braided line at ICAST this year for the Moonshine collar. And those of you guys that do night fishing and stuff like that, there's a Moonshine collar that actually glows under a black light. So it's like a greenish collar. It looks like almost like it's not like fluorescent yellow, but it's kind of like a greenish yellow. You turn a black light on it, and it actually glows. Looks like a piece of fiber optic cable, which is really cool. So, really cool stuff. I just got this in the other day. I got 2 more rods to rig up with it. I also just bought another Corrado K that's in the mail now. It's going to be put up in one of the it's going to be put on the heavy action Poison Adrena that I have. Those are the things there that I have going on as far as for the fall. Another thing is I had a lot of comments and questions about stuff on my YouTube channel. I'm going to talk about that really quick. I'm going to let you guys go. I appreciate you guys sticking around with me. I'm on here about 40 minutes right now. One of the biggest things is a lot of people ask me, people keep asking me about the on the line version of JB's fish sauce. That's in the works, guys. I've just been super busy. It's a go. I just got to get with Jim and order it. I mean, it's 100% a go. We got the actual the formulation and the formula down pat. We've been testing it for quite a while. It's going to work. Works awesome. That will be coming. Probably right now, as late as it is in the spring or in the fall, we're probably going to be pushing that until the spring. That way you can use it all summer. Next off, one of the biggest questions I get pretty much every time that I see somebody out is, what do you recommend as far as equipment to keep your memories on the water, guys? One of the biggest things I tell a lot of people, this is a Yolatech Power Stick 53-inch. And I use a GoPro Hero 6 Black. I would go with a 5, 6, or 7. Here's why. The reason that I go with a 5, 6, or 7 GoPro, the fact of the matter is that these things are actually, they work. They're really good. But one of the biggest things about these cameras are that they have voice command. So Steven and I the other day were fishing. I would tell it to stop recording. I'd say, GoPro, stop recording. It stops. GoPro, start recording. It starts. Everything's good to go. I'm going to do a whole video on YouTube about how I set this stuff up, talking about looping and all that stuff, so stay tuned for that. So I'm not going to bore you to death with that. What happens is you just take your GoPro or whatever action camera that you have. I have the GoPro mount on here. I'm going to put my GoPro in here. I'm going to close this thing up, and that's all I have to do. So this is on almost like a ram mount, ball mount there. I can tighten this thing up. I can move this thing pretty much in any angle I need to, and lock it down. And the cool thing about this thing is it's telescoping. So there's, it goes all the way up to 53 inches when it's fully extended. So if you have it fully extended, it's rated at 50 miles per hour. So if you're going faster than that, you want to put it down. If you have it down like this in your navigation port of your boat, it's 75 or 70 plus miles per hour. There's really no rating there. So you can go well over 70. I've done it. 75 miles per hour on my boat, not a problem. Has the lock on the bottom so you can lock it in there. If you guys are interested in picking one of these things up, I can save you like $70 on one. So let me know. Shoot me a message. I can get you a link. Check on a lot of my YouTube videos. The links are there as well. So with that being said, so Steven, like I said, he says he's a believer in JB's. This stuff is, works great. Definitely go over to jbsfishsauce.com. Check those out. By the way, guys, if you guys, haven't already, I'd appreciate it if you go over and subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you're seeing it on YouTube, thanks for being a subscriber, guys. Picked up almost 400 subscribers in the past 2 months. Thank you guys very much. Without you, it's not possible. A lot more fishing videos coming. I should have my truck back by this weekend. I will be fishing a ton until it gets too cold because I'm ready to fish. Hopefully get some more stuff on there. If you want to see some content made, whether it's a type of fishing that you want to see or a bait or whatever, let me know. I have a lot of Shimano and G-Loomis products that I'll be doing a lot of stuff on, especially the Poison Adrena. I'll give you my absolute rundown of both of those rods that I have here coming soon. But until then, guys, make sure you stick around. Check me out on YouTube. Check me out on Facebook. If you have Instagram, you can follow me at On Another Line. I'm there on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at On Another Line, all one word, just like back here on the back. At On Another Line, all one word. Appreciate it. Guys, thank you for sticking around for another episode of On Another Line. I appreciate it very, very much. Without you guys, I couldn't do any of this stuff. Till next time, make sure you lean on them. We'll see you next time.
Box full of Bass Pro, a couple rods and a flat bottom boat. Hook it up to the truck, got a hot date with a fishing hole. Got a nice chest, well it's empty right now. Grab a 30-pack, fill it up, ice it down. Back the boat down the ramp, ease her out through the no-wake zone. Well, there ain't no better way on a Saturday to drift away from reality. Drown your 9 to 5 like a worm in the water. Hook to a red and white bobber. Kick back, slip a koozie on. Turn the quiet up, turn off your Right now, I'm on another line.